Hi, everyone. Welcome into episode 95 of Coffee and Chel. I'm your host, Cameron Halbert, Sleeves, joined by Stewie and Brent, as always, and Benny in the background. And today, we discuss that NHL 24 is officially over. Not really, but sort of. And we'll get into all sorts of different things, like the trade deadline, the Toronto Pack ruining the economy right before team of the season. But more importantly, longevity in Ultimate Team games and what we think could fix them, as well as the GWC or the World Championships, as our three players other than myself. Their runs have finished, and there's only 16 total because there's 8 Europeans. Yes, I think there's 8 Europeans. No, there's only 16 people left in the entire world that are competing for the World Championship. So, that being said, no dad talk. I want to talk about the trade deadline, all right? Because we'll get super fire angry comments if we do dad talk and then real hockey before we actually discuss Hut. So we'll forego dad talk and let's get into the trade deadline. Where would you guys like to start, Stu, about the trade deadline?
Um, I guess the most impactful moves, maybe that I guess it was a buyer's market. So
It
the ones that
was.
obviously that I noticed first, which was kind of funny. Like, so I'll start off kind of like maybe from the beginning of the trade deadline. I saw a lot of people ripping the Tarasenko trade because they're like, wait, how did Tarasenko go for like a bag of pucks basically? And I was trying to like tell people, like with my small following, it's like he always wanted to play in Florida. Like he has a house in that area. So he literally, and he came out and said that in the press conference. He's like, yeah, I only want to go here. So he like forced the hand. And that's what a lot of teams, players, if you're smart, you're taking those pillow deals,
Yeah.
those 1 year deals where you try to, show it, prove it. You always want to get that no trade clause because your team stinks like the Ottawa Senators did. Then he can just go right down to Florida. And now he plays on arguably the best team in the NHL, and he's motivated because he wants a contract. I honestly think not because I've watched him play here for years. This is the most motivated I've seen Vladdy. Like when you have cranky Vladdy, when you have motivated Vladdy, and I think he's going to be awesome for them. I think that's one of the best deals because they gave up hardly anything. I really like what the Panthers did, and they got a Poso too. That was a small little move that good leader, good grinder, just a solid player, obviously a long time. And I think obviously the major winner too, obviously is I think Vegas long term. That's
Let's
Brent's.
let me. I want to touch on the Vladdy thing because I texted you after that was
Mhm.
done, and you sent me a text of the beat writer when he did his first media availability, and the
Mhm.
fact that someone in the NHL, and he's not a star, but he used to be. He's a pretty big name in the NHL still, regardless, even though he's not nearly as
This
good as he
this
was.
reminds me of Marion Gabrick when he went to LA, where he was kind of like, oh,
Yes.
like maybe he has some in the tank
Yeah.
still, or
That's a
Jeff
good.
Carter when he or Jeff
Yes.
that
It's a
and Jeff
fair
Carter was
comparable.
Jeff Carter was very good still, but like what I mean is like when people where they were coming from was Columbus,
Yeah.
and they're like,
They
I don't
made
know
their
if they can,
name.
yeah, like I don't know if they can still do it, and then all of a sudden it was like bam, and then
Marion
Gabrick got
Gabrick
another,
to LA is a very good comp. But so
yeah.
the crazy or the thing that blew me away is that in his media thing, it is the only place that he want to go. In a million years, I would have never guessed we'd get to a point where the Florida Panthers are a destination for players. Like
Yeah,
that in itself is insane. And
I love it. I
I
love it. I
same.
think it's great for hockey.
I
Awesome for
100%, and
hockey.
that is 100% Matthew Kachuk related. Because
Yeah,
if that
yeah.
stuff doesn't happen, if Matthew Tkachuk doesn't do it first, because he was what Tarasenko was in St. Louis, where he's like potentially the cover if
Yeah.
he wasn't, if he. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
even know if he wasn't still. He has a perception of being a rat, but like he doesn't fight and he doesn't get suspended really. So I don't know why he gets that.
He's like a Martian
Yeah,
basically.
he's kind of like Marchand. He
Just
toes the
without
line.
the maybe as many
Like he
suspensions.
could be a cover. I feel like he should be a cover
Should
athlete.
be if
Yeah.
they were smart. Like
So
instead of Zegers that 1 year, they probably should
yeah.
have done Matty because that was the year he was coming off of like all the hype
Yes,
and
yes, yes. So that
yeah.
doesn't happen, and like the fact that Florida is now like that's like franchise changing.
Did
That
you
someone
listen
wants to
to
go
32 Thoughts
on what?
and like this week's 32
Yeah.
Thoughts and he kind of went into that like how Florida's become a
Oh
destination because
yes.
you got guys driving to the rink in their golf carts and their flip flops and no state income tax. All these teams have that advantage. Dallas, Florida, Tampa. They're trying to become the Tampa of the East, and it's so true because they have an absolute wagon and nothing. I don't see them getting bad
Dude,
anytime soon. It's fun to play in those type of environments when it's. I mean, like, my gosh,
I have
like
such a different view on this
crazy.
now, as Brent, you probably do as well. As you get when you remember when you're younger and you see the guy, or even not, when you see the guys on Twitter and they're like who wouldn't want to play for a storied franchise like the Toronto Maple Leafs,
Yeah.
or like, Toronto's maybe a bad one, but it's like, man, when you get to 30 and you've been around and you've seen other places than the place that you live, which is the majority of every fan base. So if you are a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, you are used to life in Toronto or the area, let's say. And let's say Edmonton, storied franchise, right? I have been to Edmonton multiple times. It is a nice city. Dude, if you are in your, like, let's say, like, later 20s, early 30s, you have a wife, you have kids, you've got to think about the 6 months that you're not playing hockey, or even the 6 months that you are playing hockey. Like, I hate to break, like, or burst the people's bubble. If you are a fan of a team in Canada, is kind of a blanket thing, but like, I'm not going to say just Canada, but northern teams in the U.S. too, like, living in frozen ass like areas the entire time. Like, if you had, let's say, I don't want to take, because I don't want to be like, no one would want to go play in Arizona. Arizona has a rink and they get a decent team. Everyone will
Everyone's
trip
gonna go.
over themselves. Like, free
Yeah.
agents, you will see the only team that gets away with it is New York, and I think that's a lot because it's New York. Like, the free agents that hit 30 and they're like, I'm gonna go whatever. New York was always a team that would get the free agents.
Yep.
Right? But now you're starting to see, man, like, this isn't a Canada US thing. Taxes are becoming a thing, and I don't know why it's not talked about enough. And I'm surprised at the CBA that this hasn't been a contingency thing in the CBA, that teams that cannot operate like Florida and Washington and other Nashville, other I think I'm right on those other tax-free states. Like, I'm surprised in the CBA that they don't have something to help alleviate that, because they're at an unfair advantage. They just are. But now you're starting to see players, dude. Vegas is gonna. People will waive their no move clauses, and these contracts are just like, they're stuck to the point where, like, you got to get rid of them, and if they only want to go to one spot, you're getting a second or third round pick, and everyone's like, how did you get them for that price? And that's just a reality of the situation. Like, as you get older, like, yeah, would you want to win? Dude, I bet if you could take a hockey player and you were like, if I could automatically win with one franchise, just win, it would be Toronto. Like, if you could be on that team, you are in the history of, like, the upper echelon of NHL. You will be remembered forever, more than any other team that wins a Stanley Cup. I think we can agree. If you were on the team that wins the next Stanley Cup for the Toronto Maple Leafs, you're immortalized, right? But
there's gonna be multiple statues going up of everybody.
exactly, the whole team is going right down Yonge Street. They're just getting statues the entire way down. But that isn't the case. Like, you've got to live there the whole time. And Toronto's a great city. I think it's one of the best big cities. I do. And I've been to a lot of the big cities. But, man, like, things like Florida and what we've seen with Vegas, like, there is a reason. It's just because, man, you got to live there too. And a lot of it is, like, fans don't understand that. Like, if in a perfect world, Doug Wilson said for years, the biggest problem with the Sharks was that everyone came to live there and not win there. I remember him coming out in the media a number of times after, like, disappointing playoff runs where he's like, we need players that want to win here, not live here. And we're starting to see it more throughout the NHL. So the Vladdy thing blew me away, though, because, the fact that he said, I only want to go to Florida is just mind-boggling to me.
It's also like social media too, though,
Yeah.
right? With like, it's like in Toronto, if Marner has a bad practice, everyone hears about it. Whereas like in Florida, if Kachuk has like a bad stretch of games, it's like
no one even knows.
No one cares.
And that's like another thing. Like, not a lot of players want to deal with that. Not, like, that's a real reason why the Toronto Maple Leafs haven't found a goaltender since Cujo. You got to be insane. Like, you have to be absolutely bonkers to be a good goaltender for a long stretch of time in Toronto. Because if you have 2 bad games in a row, you're traded or sent to the minors. Or like Samsonov,
the front page of the news for them.
You're seeing it with Samsonov. Like, he is a head case, and it's very difficult to deal with that in Toronto because you just have, it's the most it is the biggest fan base in all of hockey, including the States. Like, it is by far the biggest, and you have just people all over the world just holding their breath, begging for, like, a win, right? So, anyways, and I don't mean to bash on cold weather states. I'm just saying that, like, or teams. It's just like, that's the reality situation. You're going to see more of it. Like you're just gonna see more people coming to. We had an all Sun Belt Final Four. Like we had the warmest finals ever. Like that's not a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Like we had Dallas and Vegas and Carolina and Tampa. Like it's just like or Carolina and Florida. Wild. Anyways, Vegas. Let's talk about Vegas a little bit.
Yeah.
The LTIR thing. First of all, I'll give you my thoughts on Hurdle real quick. It was a sad reality for me because when they signed his deal, it was a terrible deal. It was Doug Wilson's last thing he did. And it was basically Plattner, their owner, would not allow a full teardown rebuild, and it was basically them having to overpay to not admit that they had to do a rebuild. That contract is terrible. He has 2 bad knees, that thanks to Dustin Brown being a scum shithead. And, like, there's just... That contract will be terrible in 2... maybe 2 years, 3 years.
He'll be LTIR retired in 2 years.
So, but when I saw him go, it was like this realization, like, man, my entire fandom of the Sharks is now gone. Like it is. I have been a fan long enough to see a run where my team was dominant or among a cup favorite for 10 straight years. They had their guys. Now Marlowe is retired. His numbers in the rafters. Thornton's will be. And it's like, now Hurdle's gone. Couture will be gone if he ever plays hockey again. And it's like, this is... And Vlasic will just fade away and do nothingness because he basically doesn't... He gets scratched a lot. So, but the Hurdle trade, I will admit, the 6 years retaining salary is extremely annoying because in 4 years, like including this one, so 3 more after this one, they were done. It was like the franchise got to restart entirely, plus all of like Will Smith and maybe Macklin Celebrini and whoever they get in those next 3 years. And I was like excited for like 3 years from now because I'm like, man, you go into this with all these prospects and just $50 million in free agency. Like this is great. And it's like, that 6 years is kind of annoying. However, that trade or Hurdle's contract in 3 years, let's pretend that he's still on the team. 2 more years from now, he hurts them in the draft. Because he is a good player, and he, as long as he plays, will get them more wins than they would without him. And in 2 years, that contract, you have to give stuff up to get him off, like to get him off of the books. So I'm okay with it. The prospect they got back in oh my God, I mixed it up. I always want to say Edmondson. It was apparently
off the top of my head.
He is
Edstrom?
Yes, Edstrom, sorry. He is I had no idea who he was. Did a lot of research on him over the last like couple days, and he appears to be he's easily their best prospect, but that's not saying much. He projects to be a third line NHL player. That is exactly what Hurdle will be in 3 years. So, like, you know, I'm okay with it, and they get out of it, and they don't have to worry. Hurdle has 2 brutal knees. It is going to be scary over the course of that contract, and they'll LTI arm whatever Vegas does, but it will not end pretty there. But I don't hope he wins the cup. Yes, I do. Vegas is acting like the Dodgers in a salary cap.
Franchise mode. They're like playing the franchise mode right now. It's ridiculous.
It makes me hate them. Like it makes I don't know. Stewie will never not like them for obvious reasons, and you obviously like the Golden Knights. But I feel like
even if Petra wasn't on the team, I love this because I hate owners.
Yes.
Because they're greedy and they're scummy and like just like with stuff, whether it's like the players, like they're not going to see any money if they add, if they add like more teams. So they're not going to see any money from, it's always the owners that's putting money in their pockets, like. Why do you think just even someone I was listening to the radio today, it's like some guys bitching about like tickets not being around anymore when you go to sporting events, right? Like hard copy tickets, right? Yep. When I get my season tickets now, I don't get hard copy tickets. Yes. I'll just send right to my...
I don't even get them for the ice dogs
my account, right? And my dad is old school, and he's like, no, I like them because, I can give them out then and hand them out. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. I go, but no one cares about that nowadays. So... where do you think the money went from printing all those things out?
Yeah.
Back to the owner's pocket. So it's like little things like that. And I love Bill Foley for what he's done because I am such a big believer and I watched the Blues for years because they were a very competitive team and they still are competitive technically, but they're always picking from 20 to 32. Well, obviously 32 now, but in that range always. Yeah. And it's like the odds of hitting a Pasternak.
Pasternak's the gold is the gold.
A Giroux, like those kind of guys. you're not hitting on those
No.
guys like, oh, we're gonna pick there and we'll be good every year. Like, no. Sorry, the
Those are
Dallas
lottery
Stars.
tickets.
The Dallas Stars. The Ottinger and
That'll
the
never
Roberts,
happen.
the Robertson and all the those
Yeah.
kind of things. Like you don't hit and like the Lightning, like great drafting. Like even in later rounds, like so. I love when fans are like, oh my God, first round pick. Oh my God, you can't give up a first round. I'm like, dude, if I'm the Knights and they're playing with almost $100 million
100%,
like
yeah.
on their book, and it comes down to, does your owner want to really really win, or does he want to win, or does he just want to, yeah, I'm going to spend the salary cap. The St. Louis Blues owner, that's what he does. I spend the salary cap, and everyone's like, and I'm so sick of hearing that around here. It's like, well, he spends the cap. How many owners don't spend the cap in the NHL? I haven't even I would love to go through every
very
team.
few.
Very few, right?
Yeah.
And if they aren't, it's probably because they're trying to tank.
Well, yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, so like the Sharks, they're probably not spending the
And
cap.
dude, they
right
weren't
now.
allowed to. That was the issue in the Carlson year. Like when Carlson put up 100 points and they still finished fourth. They actually had the least amount of wins. They just had 17 or 15 or 17 overtime losses. So it's like, and at that point they're like, okay, like we have 100-point defenseman and we had the least amount of wins in the NHL. It's time to move on.
And in my opinion, it's always funny because I hear it all the time and they're just like, the way that Vegas, I love it. No movement clauses, signing bonus money. They'll retain. They'll buy out people if they have to. I don't even think they bought anybody out yet, to be honest.
They're rrootless too, because if you're not
And they're
performing, they'll
dealing
get you
guys
rid of
out.
you. Yeah.
Play when I texted, and like, okay, for the morons out there, you talked to, no, I talked to Petro before the deadline, and I said, what do you think's gonna happen? He said we were gonna get some scores, and he was stunned when they got Hannafin. He's like, what are we doing? And I'm like,
That's
I
his
don't
new defense
know.
pyramid for the next 5 years.
And then 24 hours later, after he skates it one time, he goes, dude, I think we might be one of the best D pairs for the next 5 years. I go, I think you will too. But it was like one of those things where he was like, I don't see how he fits at first, right? But then the Martinez news comes out, and it's just like, and he already had not been playing good. He was going to be a UFA anyways. Obviously,
It's great. It's just crazy to see because they're a villain. They're 100% of it to other fan bases. Like, oh, bro, you can't want to see them win, man. You can't want to see them win.
But the thing is, what I like about it, and I hope other owners do it.
Other owners, yes.
It's because it's part of the rules, the LTIR thing. All it comes down to is, does your owner want to spend more than the salary cap?
Yeah.
Because that's all it is. There's no bearing on your cap. It's all just, are they willing to fork out like however many million over the cap there is?
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Lightning didn't get a player. They retained in the Toffoli deal. They actually used some of Sergachev's money to get a draft pick, I think.
Yeah.
It's not even like they were. So they were like, their owners. I'm drawing a blank. You know it.
Vinnick.
I want to say yeah.
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 And all those guys, Viola in Florida now. Like you have Colorado's going to do it with Landeskog. You know, I mean, it's just, so my whole point is, it's the owner at the end of the day. Is your owner willing to spend? The Blues owner? No. Or ownership group, I should say. I don't know if, for Benny with the Oilers, like, I don't know if, like, I'm sure they would do it because they have McDavid and Leon, but I'm sure they're not as crazy about doing it because they don't have, I mean, dude, Bill Foley's a billionaire. So it's just like,
that's the thing.
I mean,
the other thing is a lot of people with the Hurdle trade. I have a feeling that Mark Stone's retiring after this year. Like, I legitimately think that he might be done.
I don't think so. I just think it's a lacerated spleen, so it's like they don't know. It's a weird injury where it's like,
it's a very weird one.
You don't know when it could come back. Like I don't think he's retired.
His
like
back thing is just
I think if it was another
like,
back injury, I think then you could say that. But I think it's just a lacerated spleen, and people need to understand this too. They have independent doctors that the league has to check over this stuff. Like, it's not just like, oh, it's the Vegas
issue.
doctor.
The real issue, I think, though, is that if you come out of the gates in game 1, why could, and like the odds that you could not play an 82 is sketchy, and I think that's going to come up in the.
But you know what too, and like you kind of said earlier with Florida, at the end of the day, Vegas is a perfect storm, right? No state income tax.
Yep.
Awesome place
to live.
Brand new arena.
Yep.
Sick practice facility. Their owner, like I remember Dave Prawn told me he would like wash their cars while they would skate. Like they would
during practice. They detail your car.
When
you're at practice.
I mean, like, and then go to a game there. I hope all you guys.
I'm a Sharks fan. It is the best game experience.
It's the best in the NHL. You can watch them play the Coyotes or whatever, and it's like it's the best in the league. Like it's every night. Nuts. It's awesome. So if you're a season ticket holder, you're getting your money's worth out there. Like I said, I just, even if I didn't like Petro out there, it's just I love that somebody's doing it because I'm glad these owners I'm glad there's an owner that's willing to do it. That's my rant because I'm so sick of seeing online
100%.
like the whole like people this is so unfair and it's like, well, dude, Tampa's owner's willing to do it. Like
I'll
he
bring
did
this
it.
up again always when this conversation happened. In 2015, the CBA, the owner of the Lightning was the only one to vote that they did not want the LTIR to count or to be allowed in the playoffs. And he was the only one to vote that he did not want that. Every other owner said, yeah, LTIR, or there's no cap in the playoffs. You can use LTIR. And they were like, all right. And they were the first ones to get. That's why Kucherov wore that shirt, like the 18 mil or whatever, like the just kind of rubbing
18 mil over the cap. Yeah.
Anyway, so we're like 20 minutes in. We should probably talk about Chel. Okay, so obviously I named this title a little dramatic. NHL 24 is over. We'll get to part one of why it is over. Competitively, it is essentially done for 99.9999%. Again, there's only 16 players left in the world still competing in the tournament. Let's talk quickly about your experience and what we saw. Benny made it far, fourth round, so he made it. Basically, he lost the series before the one to play to go to New York. So, Stu, talk to me about what happened in yours.
So,
Oh boy.
Well, real quick with Benny's. Benny and Duncan Deli, in my opinion, are both like.
Assume that people have no idea about that.
Yes.
Explain. So,
I just think they're both good enough to be there. I just think it's just the unfortunateness of the bracket, and this leads to me to saying, and me and Benny kind of talked about this, and other top players talked about this, and I said, you need a double elimination or you need a BO5 once you get to the round of 16. You need one or the other. Obviously, I think we'd all prefer double elim. I just know if they're like, oh, it takes too long or something. But in my opinion, when like we're playing for, I don't know how much money it is, whatever,
There's only one tournament a year.
And so Super Bowl, it needs a different format. Like, because like I said, I could 100%. This is nothing against some of the guys there. I think we all know the ones that we think are really deserving, and then they're all deserving. But it's just, I think there's just a little
can't fault them for winning. They did what they had to do.
Nothing wrong with it. I'm just being a realist here.
Yeah. I think like I won't use myself for an example. I'll use CAD. CAD lost in the round before the land.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and I think if you talk to any of the top guys, he was the best player in the world, like going to the tournament, I believe. And he had one bad series, and his year is done. Just I think if we really wanted to make sure the top guys go, I think having some type of second chance would really help that. And I think you would see a lot more of the top guys that you would think going because of having that last chance. Whether that's a bracket, BO5, whatever it is.
I agree. I think that obviously the longer the series go, the more accurate or the best players would win. Obviously, because for someone that's an underdog to win, having to win more would make it very difficult. I'll say this from a broadcaster standpoint because I did not compete and I will not compete. Here is the issue with not the top players coming. So, first of all, anytime like an underdog or someone that shouldn't win wins, it is great. However, in this game, in the 6 years that I have been covering it, here is what happens. Someone goes on a run, knocks out someone that's stunning, that have no business doing if they had a 7-game series. Here's what happens. Then they get to the land, and they match up with someone like Gren or Regs or a real powerhouse, and it is a 12-1 game. And I have to sit there and find a way to make it somewhat compelling while this dude is getting touchdowns scored on him. And it sucks for the person there, I'm sure. They don't want it because you can't quit. That's the problem. When you get on stage, on land, you can't quit. We saw it with CAD. CAD got somehow blasted by Pogues 10-0 in game 1 and then ended up winning.
Sam blasted Geimer.
Yes, and Geimer did the same thing. Exactly. Yeah. So, and you have to just sit there and take it. And it is the worst thing to broadcast is when someone's getting their brakes blown off. And it's kind of a sucky experience. Now, here is okay. I'm gonna give you my take on the old tournament and who made it and who didn't. Here is what I am sad about. I wish for I do not. There is a line crossed in shit talk that I don't think should be crossed, and I think that the community as a whole has done a pretty good job ever since the banning in 2020 when everyone got banned. I think that there's a lot less of it, far less than there's ever been. I think that in prior years there'd be 1 million. It still happens, bro. It still happens. But to say that it's as prevalent as it was like a regular thing in PSN messages, right? There's still a lot of bad apples, a few for sure, but I think that
Sorry.
yeah, there's a couple that are pretty bad, but I think that, dude,
UBL.
I wish you guys would say what you say to your buddies about someone being shit at the game or just garbage or that you would wax them in a series. I wish you would say it because there is so much like great game, great series, whatever. But dude, I need more of Delhi versus Gren on land. That's the one. Delhi lost, and I think a lot of people that follow the tournament are like happy with it because Delhi is not do the most upstanding way to play the game. He's kind of a dog about that. But go ahead, Stu.
I would say the best thing that we had closest to it, and because Benny's also here too, but was Benny and Delhi actually last year at All Star Game. That was the most like it was like fun, intense banter, but then it was like good game after, no big deal. And then move on.
Yes,
and, like,
I'm not saying. Like I said, I'm not saying
say
derogatory
I
stuff.
thought that was like that was like a good one.
After.
Yeah, I think Josh wanted to kill Gren in Toronto back in the day, and Gren wanted to kill Josh. Like that was legit hatred.
And
like,
it makes the watching the game so good because man, there is enough of that. There is enough people that don't like each other, but it is never said. And maybe it's a good thing because some people don't know how to do that correctly without just saying some out of pocket stuff. But I'm just saying. I think that for anyone that follows the competitive community closely, Delhi versus Gren on LAN would have been.
Oh, it'd been awesome.
That would have been like it would have just been so good. And we'll see what happens. There was 4 newcomers. I want to give a quick shout out to them. There's Sauce Show, who somehow always makes deep in the GWC.
He has the best track records.
Yeah,
like if you go back, he's got a better track record than some of the guys.
If you do if you do like rankings and like you gave points for finishes, he would be
so
like
high.
Top yeah.
Like
and no one knows who he is outside of like the highest competitors that always pay attention to the tournament.
Well, he's a quiet dude. He doesn't say much. He's not really a Twitch guy. He's not like in chats. He's not the guy that's shit talking other dudes. He's just a quiet guy that always finds a way to win and go deep. I remember before the bracket, I was like, Sasha will find a way. That's just what he does. He always finds a way to go deep.
It's nuts, man. And then, remind me real quick. So Sasha, there was Seguin, who has been around for forever, which is crazy. He used to be the dude that would snipe me all the time, and we would go 50-50, and now he would just smoke me. But Boogie is the person that beat Delhi. No disrespect to Boogie, but it would have just been fireworks, bro. Like even if you mildly cared about competitive NHL, it would have been watching Delhi and Gren would have just been so good. So no disrespect to Boogie, but he's the one that beat Delhi in overtime of Game 3. It was actually a great series. Like it was intense the whole way. I was nervous the whole time. That's why I like it. Like it was very good. We also had Sky. Sky beat Cad, and that was probably the series among all of them that it's like I can't believe these two have to play each other. Like that's unfortunate. Like Sauce Show against Sky to go instead of would have been like kind of something that would have evened things out maybe, or even Boogie, right? Yeah. But yeah, so Cad doesn't make it, loses to Sky in one of the craziest comebacks that I don't think that is like overlooked. He was down 3-0 in Game 3 and scored 3 straight goals, one with like 2 minutes to go, and then won. So props to Sky. He was at North America last year. We'll see. Another quiet guy, though. I kind of went over the list, and I'm like, as in terms of how the broadcast is gonna go, I'm like, man, I need a chatter. I need, And then we had Regs and Gren, which I guess among storylines, it's like the fact that they're still here, bro. If we get Regs and Gren again, I'm over it. Like, but at this point, if it's becoming Tom Brady-ish, where it's like, at some point, like when he wins and he's got like three rings and it's like everyone hates him. Gets his 4th and it's like, man, we still hate him. Then it's like his 5th and he's like, dude, we're seeing something that we're never going to see again. Like that's borderline what this is if it wasn't already that. The fact that think of it, for everyone that doesn't play competitively, how random this game is. That these two have played in the finals of this tournament 3 times. Like that's insane. The fact that they didn't lose in some random bounce and get knocked, like it's just crazy. This is the 7th year of the tournament, and this could be the 4th time they meet in the finals. Like, just gnarly to me. So,
Even to go off on that. So my first round opponent, I managed to win in game 3 OT, booty clenching. And I had to play Regs in
I watched
round
that,
2.
and you did well.
And actually, so in game 1, we were tied 1-1 up till late, and then one of my D-men decided he was going to do a marathon shift, and I got burned, and so then he went up 2-1 and won that game. And then in game 2, he went up 2-0 early, and I knew I was in trouble because his possession game is unmatched by anybody, which is what makes him so good. But the thing is, he doesn't play the meta. He doesn't play like the NHL 24 where it's like the straight line force meta. He plays his own game, and then he finds a way. And basically, you can't check him. I could not take that puck from him. It was every time, and then soon, because like in game 1, I was winning or tied up until the end. But in game 2, when I went down, I got severely punished because I always had to pressure him. I had to get the puck back. It's like I need to score some goals. Nope, I just got absolutely buried. So
it's funny because like when this game came out last year, I had when you get older, like as you get older, more responsibilities. This is what happens with video games. It's the video games. The first thing it usually takes a hit. You get a girl, you get a real job. Like the first thing it takes a hit is video games. And to be the best, as jokes as it is, you have to put in 1,000 hours in this game to get a shot to really win. Like, and that's pretty much for every video game or anything that you're competing in. Like, you have to significantly outwork in terms of the amount of hours you put in. And as you get older, it's just more difficult to do that. And Regs' team name this year is like Regs' last ride or whatever. And it's like, because he graduated university, he's got a new girl, and he's got a real job, and it's like, but this game, when it came out with like the full pressure system, knowing how Regs plays, like he is impossible to get the puck back against, and it's like that just feels like it would have, been the best way to, make it difficult for himself. We might get Gren and Regs again. We'll see. Who else made it? There was Sky.
Deeks and Polk, I think are the two guys.
Shout out to Deeks. He has gotten smoked at Lands. But that comes with the first time qualifying for Lands. Like, you get nervous.
100%.
Yeah, like, Benny, I'm sure you can talk about this, but, like, I get nervous when I broadcast it. Like, it's just you're playing with the lights of the brightest, right? And the more that you do it, you still get nervous, but it impacts you less. So much like with Geimer. Geimer couldn't win a tournament, and then he won the Leafs one this year because he keeps showing up to them, and, like, that's just what happens. So I think there will come a time where Deeks figures it out. And who was the other one?
Polks, you missed.
Oh, yeah, and Polks, Pogs is like, bro, you ever seen Cars?
Yep.
Pogs reminds me of like Chick Hicks.
Just
he's just behind Lightning McQueen and the King. Like, he's Chick Hicks, where eventually, like, he's gonna get his piston cup, but like, I don't know, man. Like, he has a hard time on land. He does.
He's very clutch of getting to land, but struggles when he gets there. So I obviously, like, out of all the guys, I'm probably closest with him. I hope this is the year he takes it down. Like,
it will happen eventually.
I think he's been too good for too long to not have.
He's a good kid. There's a few kids that I'm hoping to to see them pull through with, like, they're good kids. But since they explained their 2 series, I'll actually let Sleeves do the honors of explaining what happened in my series, because he got to watch it in Discord, and I lose in 3 games. Game 1, I was furious because of what happened. Game 3, like, people would be like, I can't believe, like, you weren't, like, more, because I had a bunch of people on my Discord, like, watching the game. They're like, I can't believe you weren't more mad about that. And I was like, at that point, it's like, it's EA Sports, it's in the game, and I'll let Sleeves explain why. It was just one of those things where it's like, how is that even, like, a thing? Like, how do I, because it was a back of the box feature that we promoted, and it doesn't even work right. So I'll let him explain what happened in my series.
So Stu, first off, he seemingly has, like, the worst, like, luck or nonsense happen to him in GWC specifically, which is just it is mind-boggling. It is. But so in his game 1, he was playing. Who were you playing? What was the name of the tag?
I can't remember his name. Something Metro.
Oh, Metro Boomin. Yeah, who actually I know from, like,
some
LG.
Kind of numbers,
I think.
And I don't know what it is. Yeah. So.
That is someone that I would not expect to beat you. And so in his first game, it was like 2-1 or 3-1. I think it got to 3-1 for him.
He flicked 2 turds. One hit my guy in the butt. fluttered over my goalie's shoulder.
TOA and whatever. TOA and whatever is far.
You got this. You got this. We're going to the third period. It's all good. You got this. He's pumped me up. I'm like, all right. And then
like, so then Stu starts lagging, but it's like not lag. Yeah, like here, if you're watching the YouTube video, it's like 400 ping.
There's a guy on Twitter that said it best. He goes, "You got a view of the Rocky Mountains today without even leaving your house." I'm like, yes, I did.
And it's so it's suspect. Now, I personally don't know how you impact something because it's on server
randomly.
But there has been like talks of like a way to make it where you lag significantly, but so does the person doing it. But again, it can never be proven. But in that it was so laggy, Stu almost came back and won somehow playing on 400 ping, which was impressive.
It was awful.
Anyway, so game 2 you win. There was no shenanigans, and then game 3
there was no chance to lag me in game 2. So yeah.
And then game 3 you were winning in the third period. And he got the full pressure glitch. For anyone that hasn't had that, is if you get someone who gets full pressure on you.
No.
Yeah, you get full pressure on you, and then you kill it off or whatever, and you clear it, and then you take a timeout. Like you have had full pressure against you, and you take a timeout. It will make it where your players get drained as if they're under full pressure the entire rest of the game. And so Stu is in the third period. He gets a goal, and it's 2-2. Dude, it's 2-2. And every single 5 or 1-1.
It was 1-0
for you.
I get a penalty.
Yes.
It's full pressure. You go, Stewie, take a timeout.
Yeah,
take a timeout.
Like,
okay. Yeah, we're good, right? The night before, our good pal Cletus and a few others had told me, hey, have you had that full pressure glitch this year? I'm like, I've never, what are you talking about? He's like, no, like, you get it if you call. I'm like, I don't even know what this guy's talking about. I had no clue. Literally the night before, in that situation, I called time. Me and Steve's like, okay, we got this, we're good. This guy can't win a face-off. He's like, pump me up. I'm like, yeah, we're all good. I win the drawback, and it's like it like my green just goes zero.
Every single player for the rest of the third period is getting drained. He can't. Every line change he makes, he has no energy.
I flipped it out of play.
Yeah, flipped it out of play to get a line change because your third line is the only one with energy, and then you can just see them just drain. So
the only way to break it is to score.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
which is nearly impossible. Yeah. Good luck.
So it's an issue in the game, and it's very rare. I have not experienced it. In the couple hundred games I've played, it is very rare, but it's just it happens. It's in the game, but it's just
there's another fix too, Brad. Apparently, you're supposed to let yourself get full pressured again, and I said that would be nice because it's really hard to get full pressure in this game unless you're playing a turd shot master, which I was. Funny enough, just as we started the podcast, Mike Engelhardt, I reached out to him and I was just like, hey, like I'm just letting you know, like. This I didn't even know this is a thing. Just for NHL 25's sake, or if you guys can fix it this year, great. For the guys that are still all playing the game, I'm like, this thing happens. You call a timeout, and you think that your energy's back up. Nope, you're really playing in mud the rest of the game. It's a mess. It's so hard to handle. And I go, there's really no way to fix it. And he said, thanks for the message. He goes, we have that as an active bug. Team has it on the plate to fix it. Appreciate the details. We're definitely.
Oh, that's tough. So it's like a note. Yeah, you just got screwed.
So they're fixing it. And like I said, like for all the haters out there, I lost fair and square. I would have had to beat Gren. If I had to beat Gren, I would have had to beat.
That's the thing. I would have loved to see you play.
It would have. It's just it just sucks because it's like and this will kind of go into our next topic, but it's like you put in the time, and I probably put in the least amount of time of any well-known or top player. I don't consider myself a top guy like Benny, but I still consider myself pretty good. And I just play my champs games. That's about it. So I would say I put in the bare minimum of what you have to do, but it's still unfortunate because even like Brent, it's like, oh, cool. I play. Oh, I get rags. Fun. This is great. Round 2. I mean, it's like, it'd be nice to make it a little further, but it's like, it just sucks because I get there and it's like, oh, okay. Like I get to play in the Rocky Mountains ping. And then the next game 3, I'm playing in mud and I was kind of happy that you got to see it because then I wouldn't come off like this sore piss baby loser. But it was like, I just at that point I just threw my hands.
It's tough. It was a tough watch because obviously I don't
it was just a tough scene, but it leads back to, like I said, like you play for this build up. A lot of guys do, and then it's just like done, right? And personally, I'll be done. I'm gonna go play MLB. I know Brent, you're probably still gonna play a little bit. You said like once a week.
Not on stream, but yes.
Let's
I don't know how you'll do, but the point is we have to find something to extend it where not everyone, maybe I'll always be that way because MLB is just conveniently out at the same time, but we have to find a way for guys like Benny. Like I was telling Steve this before stream, I feel like a lot of the top MLB guys, they play almost all year round.
I want to, that's what I want to have a conversation about it. So, this isn't just an NHL problem. I think that almost all Ultimate Team mode games and sport games they don't have a year-long cycle. They have a 6-month cycle. I would love to find a sports game that has a ton of interest 6 months into the cycle, and that includes Madden, NBA, the 2K League. Actually, the 2K League, I do work for the 2K League for the Wizards. Their season ends like weeks before the next game, which I didn't even realize. So it's interesting that they do it in the back half of the game. But there's, guys got to grind, then they get into the draft. There's a whole big thing going on before it. But that being said, Ultimate Team mode games, NHL included, have a really hard time, not just for the entire year, but for 6 months afterwards. So, like, something that there's going to be a lot of MLB talk, and it's, like, frustrating, I'm sure, for a lot of players that have no interest in MLB. And there's MLB, baseball is probably, like, the least interesting sport among the 4 big ones in the North America. Because you either really like it or you haven't played the game, or you played it as a child or you didn't. It's because a lot of people say it's boring, and I can see why. And the MLB themselves had to put in a pitch clock to make it more interesting, right? It's a lot more palatable when it's 2.5 hours, by the way, now than it was when it's 3.5. Like, it's tough to watch it, right? So I understand that, and I know there'll be a lot of people that don't care about this, but what they did this year, and I want to bring this up, is last year, I'll talk about this quickly, is they released 99s at launch, which was pretty historic in Ultimate Team mode. They got rid of the power creep, which was a major risk, and it kind of blew up in their face because they released 99s, and the thing about MLB is you can grind for all of their cards. But the problem is when you can grind for 99s, no one's buying packs to like. It's a business, so you have to understand that, like, if they don't see money in it, then this format isn't going to work for everyone. For the consumer, it's whatever, right? It was great for the consumer, but the power creep, meaning like there's that constant chase, is necessary, I think, and it's crazy because a lot of us play NHL, we hate that 99 hut. It's awful, and getting there, it gets worse and worse and worse because as you go along, 99 speed happens, and then what isn't talked about a lot is that 99 shooting happens and it ruins every goaltender. And then so do 99 hand stats, because they say that, like, there's no 99 overalls. You can have a 93 with 99 speed, 99 hands, and 99 shooting. That is a 99.
Yeah, 99 where it matters.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Dude, like, there are cards in the game. Like, Mike Modano's card is still one of the better cards in the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there is, and that's only a 90, right? So that's an issue, but the power creep is important, and maybe that's because of a consumer thing, but MLB taught me that, or at least it showed me that. What MLB is doing this year is they are making it a season format where every 3 months the game resets. And the first thing is, why am I grinding if I'm going to lose everything? Because, Brent, I'm sure you actually asked that, and you were like, do you lose everything? What's the point? So here's a couple things I'll explain, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. And Stewie will understand a little bit more because he plays MLB. But here's what is going to happen. Cards come out, and they're Season 1 cards. They start at 89 overall. We actually just saw the tease of it, and there's a lot of content. We're talking, like, good cards for every single team, multiple drops in a span of 3 months. They start at 89, and by the end of the season, so 3 months from March 15th or March 19th, we will have 99s, okay? There is 4 wild card slots that you can unlock by grinding, so there's an incentive to play. You get 2, but there's 4 that you can unlock, and you can use those. Wild cards slots are for any overall, so you can bring 4 cards that you grinded for into the next season. There's also core cards, which are the live series, so your base cards, but in MLB they go up and down based on in real life performance, which is sick. But also completing the collection. So collecting every card, you can get 3 different 99s, and those core cards can go into any season. So there is lots of things to grind for that will allow you to keep the progression that you've earned in that season. And then, but here is the thing that I think that is very overlooked, and what I immediately thought about. In the middle of the summer, I'm gonna take MLB as an example. 3 months in, we're into June or July, right? The All-Star break happens. That's when the burnout starts to happen in sports games because we grind so hard, right? Then the next 3 months, let's say you go to the cottage. You got to spend a week away with the kids. You don't feel like playing as much, right? You can completely ignore Season 2. And when September rolls around, kids are back in school, postseason starts to heat up. Maybe you pick the team that's in the race, a little bit more interesting. There's award races happening. Bam, new season starts, and you're right in line with everybody else. And you took 3 months off. That alone is why I think this will work. Because what happens in
NHL
NHL
needs to do this.
Yeah,
so badly.
What NHL happens if you miss a week, bro? We feel like we're like months behind. You know what I'm saying? Like, so how it would work in, like, let's say in NHL is 3 months, I guess, is probably the right length of time. So it would be what, October 1st to October, November, December. So January 1st, team of the year. So, and then the second month would be January, February, March. So this end of this month. You could take off January to March and come back for April for the playoffs and be in the same spot. And you would have more advantages if you played season 2, because there would be other season 2 cards that come out that you can have that would be 99. But do you not feel like that is like a foolproof way to do Ultimate Team?
It's so much better, because the problem is right now is that we've entered into 99 hot, and there's just basically the whole, like, the fun is like the build of your team, and especially when it's like in like high 80s, low 90s hot, and like you're starting to get cards that have outlier stats, like, oh, like this card has like 97 speed when it mattered, because like most cards are like in the low 90s, and like, whereas right now it's just, now it turns into the height. Is basically how many Manthas can I get? How many Ovechkins? Waiting for Ovechkin to hit 99, so you get your 6'3", 235-pound right-handed winger in your lineup. It's just, no, that would be a much better way. And also just like the reset, so the gameplay feels different.
Dude,
it's like
wipe,
fresh again.
Bro, that's the thing. So like I play a game called Tarkov, and Tarkov is so weird because the best part about Tarkov is that every 6 to 8 months, your account wipes. They update all the game with crazy updates, and then you have to start fresh. And it's like the game is brand new. And I'm so excited to see in MLB if the second a new season starts. Season 3 is the one I'm really interested in, because you can take off that middle 3 months and come back, and you're not so far behind everyone else that if you don't grind, then you're, you know. And I just think that, like, I think they're onto something here. I think last year when they went,
there's a huge uptick in people playing as soon as you get that new season drop.
Yeah.
Like for season 2, 3, and 4. Like even in 4, I'm sure it's gonna be less of a tick, but still, you're gonna get this massive spike.
Even if
in
you only
people
played
that
a
are coming
month or
back.
two. Like, and how many people
Yeah.
listening to this podcast right now have wanted to take a month off, and like would you not feel like the player base would just rush back if everyone started right now and they like went back to like base cards? And yet it would be so brutal for everyone that grinded. But if you can find a way to bring over the right amount, I think it would, like in NHL, if there was 4 wildcard spots, the 2 defensemen and 2 forwards that were 99s, let's say, right? And maybe it doesn't work the same. I think that NHL still needs to go to builds. So a 99 is depending on the build. So like a 99 sniper has 99 hands, but his body checking is capped at 80. I've talked about this for forever. But Stu, do you not think that would work in NHL?
Yeah, the thing is, like, the closest comp that we have in NHL, it's kind of funny. I was thinking about it is like, besides team of the year in terms of like the hype of like wanting to get on and like use the new guys or play because it's fresh, is team builders, right?
Yeah.
Because every time there's a new team builder thing, everyone rushes to their thing and they try to build them as fast as they can. And it's like you have like new toys that are like whatever. That was kind of how it was with MLB last year, where it's like, okay, what's the sick? And it was so cool last year because like the World Baseball Classic was
that was.
So that was like a big
but the
part
World
of the
Championships is gonna.
Yeah,
like
the NHL, it has the chance to do it next year if they want to do it, but it's just the cool thing is until you really get the game in your hands for people out there that don't understand this, and you got to stick with it for a week or two, and you got to try to fool around with it. You got to play offline. You got to, and I stress this for anybody that's starting MLB this year, or even just maybe didn't give it a chance more in the past. Find controls, camera angles.
There's no meta.
It's
all personal preference, which is great.
Preference. Like, people don't go and watch the best players and go, okay, I got to use the same camera as him. I got to use the same way he pitches. Like, I pitch different than Sleeves pitches. I use different cameras than Sleeves use. Like, we all use different pieces. Everything is just preference. You know what I mean? So don't like think, oh, like this is stupid. I can't hit with this, because it's like you just change on that. Just make the game enjoyable for yourself.
Could you imagine? Do you remember early ESHL? Oh God, I'm going to go on a tangent here. You remember the early ESHL when like you could change your blade radius and like all that stuff like that impacted how your guy played? Imagine you could do that for all the players again.
Want to hear something funny? When the first year of NHL 09 came, and this is like dating myself, good God, but '08, everyone was preparing. Like all the top guys were preparing. We were all like making teams, and there was we didn't even know like what it was. We
You were
had
on
no
the
clue
you were
how
on the
it was.
forums talking.
Yeah, we had like our fake teams, but we didn't know how it would actually all work. And I remember like getting on the game the first time and playing ESHL, and all of us were using Be a Pro cameras at the start because that was what they like advertised at,
Yeah.
because you wanted to, because the big thing was like, oh, you get to play like locked onto that guy, right? So everyone was trying to do it, and then everyone started to realize like, wait, like why don't I just switch it to like ice or classic, or like, because back in the day, honest to God, like ice was the
Ice was the
form of
best, man.
overhead.
Yeah, ice was
Yeah.
overhead. Overhead
Then
was
it became
way too up. Like yeah.
yeah, it was like over the. It was literally
Mhm.
like it was
In the
like
rafters.
it
Yeah.
was like we're like it would be like if the jumbotron's here, it was kind of like right here, and
Yeah.
it was like over the thing, and then they kind of changed it over the years,
Yep.
and now there's like obviously like there's different things, but it was funny when I like look back on it, because it was all just so new, and it reminded me of that kind of, where it's like I remember I was like, what am I doing? Like
I
how
just
did I use it?
I think that this is like why this stuff, not just MLB. If this happened in so like I always pay attention to things like this. Like NBA took away the marketplace, which is like you know what I mean. It's like when games do crazy things. Ultimate Team has been around for what 13 years now, maybe almost 15. It's like you have to see some foundational change, but the problem is that these companies don't want to do it, because if they mess it up, that's hundreds of or $100 million gone if they don't do it right. And I think San Diego Studios did not make nearly the same amount of money because they really took away the incentive. Basically what happened last year when they released all 99s is that the good cards, the good 99s, were in packs that you had to buy, which rubbed MLB players the wrong way, because you've always been able to grind for your cards. And so it just the season format was like, you could in season 3 you could use season 2 cards but not season 1, and it just wasn't done correctly. But they expanded on it this year, and they brought back the power creep, so you're basically playing a year's worth of content in 3 months, and then it wipes. You can bring over your big cards and into season 2, so you have a head start at least, and then you grind again.
And there's incentive to actually play the previous
Yes.
season. It's not like, oh, I don't. There's no. If they're like, there's no reason for me to keep
Yes.
playing. Then people go, well, then I don't have like. There's no reason for the grind. Whereas I go,
Exactly.
well, me doing this builds into next season and gives you a little bit of an edge. Then it makes sense when you're wanting to grind like season 2 in order to have like the edge on season 3. But the only thing is, okay, think about this too. Like when someone comes into your chat in January, goes, should I pick up playing Hut? You go, have fun.
You got to
man,
start
'cause
now.
everyone's
Yeah,
so
if you don't
far
start
ahead,
in
right?
January,
But
yeah.
if you have seasons, it's like, oh, just wait for January, or just I was like, oh, it might be hard for you, but just wait
Yeah.
for April. Like
Yeah,
like season 3 is in April, man. Like just pick it up then. You'll have a much better time. Play versus right now. Whereas like if someone would pick the game up right now, I'd be like, too late. Sorry,
It's-
you got
it's
7 months.
100%,
You got 5
man.
months of creep. We're in 99 Hut. Good luck. You would need to spend like $1,000 to catch up. Sorry, man.
And
Good luck
MLB
next year though.
MLB also does such a good job of like talking about getting on like every day to play, right? Like I love that I can pick up MLB for 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Oh, maybe I'll put it down and play in 2 days. Like I can just pick it up whenever I want. Maybe I want to do some moments today. The moments on that game actually register. They're actually like somewhat fun or tolerable, right? Like that's the
Tolerable
difference.
is a better word, because they're still monotonous.
Well, there's still some that are annoying, but I also think for someone like Brent, who's like, I think he's kind of dabbling for the first time this, or like serious this time.
My first time ever
and,
playing
like,
it. No,
trying
ever
to get-
playing it.
That's the
I think
best. I can't wait
moments.
to watch
I
it.
think moments are honestly a great way to learn the game. Conquest in the beginning. I know you
Conquest
said that, please.
is
It's a
how.
good way to like, because playing the computer is a challenge in the beginning, but then once you get past that initial stage, then your competitive juices flip on, because then you're like, all right, I got my team. I feel
Dude.
good. Like I got the game more, and then it's all just.
That
It's learning
first
how to
time,
take pitches and where to throw, and it's all. Then you learn that next phase.
you're gonna be playing on veteran and ranked, and that first time that you just take a daddy hack and perfect the fucking 3-run shot, and it just there's nothing better in sports games than that. Like there's simply maybe an overtime goal, but like I said this before, it's like maybe a
Getting
one-timer
a
off
home
the
run's
bar.
best.
It's just there's something about, because they do a great job making it feel like no doubter, but it's rewarding because it's very like anyways. But there's the reason why I wanted to bring up that though is like because what we've seen in NHL is that this year this content team is just trying to reinvent the wheel, and the trade deadline event ended up being one of the worst ever. This crazy Leafs pack is nuts to me, and Moreover, I hope they do it for every single team. Because first of all, the whole Leafs thing is crazy that they got a collaboration with the Leafs for their St. Pat's uniform. Like, it just makes it's so out of nowhere that because the Leafs, I get it why it's the Leafs because they're the biggest fan base. But dude, the Stadium Series just happened. You could have just done the same thing with the 4 Stadium Series guys. 22,000 coins for a pack. You could build a theme team. Like with the Sharks, you're not pulling anything, but I would pull enough that I could make a theme team, right? I honestly think that this pack should be in the store for every single player. But the issue is currently the odds on the pack are broken. And I'm stunned that I made a video and I was like, guys, here are the odds. If the odds are lower than what this is now, don't do this pack because I felt like they were going to drop them drastically. Dude, the amount of people, I was like, use coins. Use 1 million coins if you have 1 million coins for team of the season. Best way to prepare is to just drain them with this Leafs pack. And I don't know if you opened any, Brent, did you?
Not yet. No, I haven't touched the game since Regs ended my run. So
Dude, I can't wait to see how you struggle and play because like it's my job. So like I just get on and I'm whatever.
Well, let me ask. Okay, so let me ask somebody like Benny, who is like right there on the cusp. Benny, what are you going to do? Because I don't know if you play MLB, but like what are you like? How are you going to play NHL for the next? I know Papa, you've done like your Papa League. You've done like I know you can still do champs, but other than champs?
Yeah.
What are you gonna be in like no sixes? Okay, that doesn't count because that's still competitive. I'm saying like if there was no sixes and like what are you gonna do to keep yourself like going? I guess.
I was literally actually having to talk about this with Brent earlier today. I'm in the midst of trying to figure that out. While we've been recording, I've been building a Edmonton Oilers themed team.
That's it. Same team season.
Yeah, so I'm hoping they release an Edmonton Oilers version of that pack because then I would have something to buy to get some cards. But honestly, like hut wise, nothing. Like I'm like of course yeah, maybe I'll string together a champs run one sometime when I'm bored over a weekend. If not, I don't know. Like I'm kind of I like the real side of hockey as well, so I'm a franchise mode guy.
Dude, same. Doing
the same
one franchise mode though, I still find a way to sink 100 hours in a franchise mode.
Same. Every time my GWC run is done and like the summertime becomes more busy and I'm like out a lot more, if I have like an hour or two to like spare or something, it's like franchise mode, trying to like do a bunch of random stuff.
I think that team is a good idea because like
that's it. That really is it though.
I could see it, but then the minute that I play some little scumbag,
and
it's here. Let me give an example.
GG in the chat, and you're like, all right, that's it. I'm putting the 99 McKinnon back in.
Let me give an example. I could see Benny, and Benny's too good of a guy to do this, but I could see Benny like playing somebody, and they beat him, and he's just like, dude, like I'm using like.
I'm using 90 Zach Hyman on my first line.
Yeah,
8 speed, dude.
Yeah, just shut up. And he's like, I don't care. I still spanked you. And then he goes in the chat. So I just beat Benny 3-1.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty easy. And then you're just like, and you're like, dang it, like I got to go back and get my freaking team of the year McDavid or McKinnon back. It's like.
So with that, so like theme teams are pretty much it. I'd love to know in the comments, guys, if you play 5 hours a week, 5 hours is little, but like that's a lot for a casual person as it works a 9 to 5. 5 hours a week is still quite a bit. If you play 5 hours a week, like what are you still doing, and is what is available in the game still enough for you? And what would something that would increase your longevity of playing the game? So let me ask you guys this: you have one thing that can be added into the game, and there's cost too much money, too much dev time, nothing gets added into the game. What would be the one thing that would increase your overall your enjoyment of the game? Benny goes first.
Okay. So is this hut related or anything?
Yeah, let's make it hut. Let's make it hut related.
Okay. I would say. This is small, and I probably would have a better answer if I really thought about it. But I still don't get why we don't have eShield customization with your jerseys in the arena and like having banners up and stuff. I don't understand why that's not in hut yet.
Brother,
Like,
I can tell. I would say I can answer that question
Yeah.
real quick. That GWC Discord is the exact reason as to why that is not
I
going to be
guess.
a thing.
I guess.
But
Don't
MLB,
allow images in it. Like,
MLB,
yeah.
they do it
Oh
every
yeah,
year.
but dude, but you get boobs and dicks every once in a while, dude. It
But they
trickles
get,
through.
but that's the
Well,
thing.
make
You gotta.
it PG or make it 18 plus. I don't know.
But dude, here's the thing though. Like they have a report filter, and they report you. You get paid.
The real issue, and I actually think it would be fun to have customizable jerseys. But one, this is going to be me being an old crotchety person again. First of all, actually, Stu, I'm stunned that you would want them because you're someone that's like, this guy has white stick tape and he like tucks his jersey at a 45-degree angle, and you want them to come out with just random lime green jerseys everywhere.
Well, so the jerseys, I'm just because it's ultimate team. Yeah, like the color of the tape of the sticks bugs the crap out of me because in hockey
That was
no
an
one
example,
uses-
but yes,
But no, it does. It bugs the living crap out of me. I hate watching ESHL. For
that's
that
got to be a
reason.
goalie thing.
It's just a hockey player thing.
I can't do like.
Go find anybody that played hockey like in the course of their life, like competitively, and then tell me how many of them are like, oh yeah, like I want to have like pink tape and yellow slate or like yellow like tape on my guy and this.
No,
It's like,
not that they didn't have their own personal ones, that they remember everyone else's. Because there's guys out there
on my
like that.
team. Yeah. Like
I think it's because you're a goalie. Like I feel like that's a goalie thing.
The whole Blues team, like right now, off the top of my head, like and
Because you're always staring, is what I mean. Is like,
honest to God, I can tell you most NHL teams. Like
But
I'm weird.
let me finish
But yeah.
my thoughts on that,
way.
dude. You know what would happen? The amount of just trash people. Let's take away the homophobia or anything that was racist that would be
I
in
know.
teammates.
Trust
Not
me,
even that.
I
Not even
agree.
that. Do you know how many people would make white jerseys? Oh, their home jerseys.
Well,
Like,
they
do you,
already
like,
do.
yeah,
Oh,
but no, but like that
Bannable
EA,
offense.
dude, yeah, I know, but there's always a few European guys that like trickle through, right? Because they end up finding one, but they're usually patched in the next patch. It's weeks away, but like it usually gets patched. But the amount of people, bro, it would be an epidemic for the game. The first 2 months of the game that you allow.
No jerseys. Let's say just arenas.
that. Arenas, yes,
Arenas. So I can have a
100%
banner.
arenas.
I was the Hut Champs week 1 top 20 finisher.
Imagine you could unlock it. Like if you
It's
were a
so
Hut
cool.
champ,
So
and it's
cool.
like you could throw that
Cool.
banner up. That's the
It's
best.
just something.
I miss that flexing part of
Yes.
Dude, I used
Exactly.
to grind for that Hut Champs card. Like I miss
The
that.
goalie record, bro. That was the
Yes.
ultimate, bro. The goalie record, and you know how many quits you could get? Oh, I loved that.
By the way, why did the goalie record get even more broken in the last 3 weeks? 'Cause,
I think it's still the leaderboard thing is still a mess.
dude,
Like,
two things on PlayStation I noticed, and this is a PlayStation because I didn't notice on Xbox. Every time I was getting different games when I was doing these player friend games this week, or going into the whatever you call it, the GWC games, my name was a different PSN every game.
Yeah.
Like, one game I was Meso Trippy. The next
dude,
game
that's
I was
crazy.
I mean,
dude.
and then I thought, holy crap, this guy I'm playing, if I beat him, he's gonna report me and say, I didn't play you Chicago
Yeah.
2000. I was supposed to play Daddy Padre. My name was Chicago 2000 when I played this guy. I was like, what is going on with this game? Anyways,
God.
my fix or my
Yes.
one thing, gameplay in general with me is it's one of those things where there's so much.
It's
just
subjective. It's way too subjective.
It's just such a big like storm of like little. You can nitpick things here and there. The thing for me with Hut, and this is, I bet you'll know what I'll say. It's leaderboards, and
Yeah.
it's crossplay leaderboards too. I just think we need crossplay leaderboards, and we need like a leaderboard back, like whether it's. And another thing I was thinking about, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but it's just we need a leaderboards badly, whether it's having a leaderboard all year, we need a crossplay leaderboard too. We need to combine the PlayStation. If you're going to brag about crossplay, this is year 3 coming up. If you're going to brag about it as a back-to-back feature 2 years in a row, and you still have us playing on dedicated servers, and they'll probably do the same thing next year, and it doesn't work correctly. We don't have leaderboards. You can't really brag about it. I'm sorry. You can't sit there and be like, oh, like, good job, guys. We did it. Yep, we did it. Like I said, like last week, I said I can play dudes on Nintendo Switch on my Xbox, like for
It
MLB.
needs to be an investment. That is, I'm fairly certain that is an investment thing that they have to invest in. The amount of data they can save from individual games is so apparently, like, from what I gather, like every game, they don't store all the data from every game. For example, puck possession. Great stat that would be infinitely useful to the player base is if you could go in and see how much or per game you handle the puck with a card. because it's not something that you pay attention to. At the end of games,
Points
you
per
can
60.
Yes. So if you go and look that you handle the puck and carry the puck with your right-handed defenseman, on average 5 minutes more in game than your lefties, then maybe you need unstoppable force on those cards. Or maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe you want to have one-timers on cards that shoot, and you can't. That info is not readily available to you. Now, if they want to add more stuff and more data, that means that every game, and there's a million games that get played over the course of however long, and you're adding even just kilobytes to it, like exponentially the amount of, and we already see how slow the menus are. Like that, there needs to be an investment there before we get the leaderboard situation fixed. I was wondering, what if they didn't, crossplay being a thing is whatever, allows you to find games, but what if the leaderboards weren't crossplay? You still got a win or a loss. So if you played someone cross console, you still got to. Would that be enough to satisfy what you're looking for?
No, because they already do that every week in champs. I mean, we already see the champs leaderboards. Yeah. It's like
it stays. So we're talking about rivals or an overall champs one the whole season.
I don't think so, because like if we're gonna brag about crossplay and we're gonna promote it like we really did something special, like it should work like the full functionality of it. It should all work. Like I watch dudes on MLB and like the top guys, they're not like, oh, like what's uninstall on Xbox? What's he ranked over there?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Can you go check for me? What my point is 17 years ago I started playing online in NHL 07. 17 years ago. 17 years ago we had leaderboards for ESHL for like every little thing. Like, and by the way, we have leaderboards in ESHL all year. Like they're still on ESHL. They have leaderboards. Why can't we? HUT is the most played game mode according to somebody that messaged me the other day.
That works for EA?
Mm-hmm.
I'm stunned at that. I've been told by everyone that seemingly...
When I asked why we can't have a leaderboard, he said something always has to die for that to actually get in. It's insane to not have a leaderboard in the largest online game mode in 2024. That's what he said to me. And he goes, but it comes at a cost to get in, and there is a consistent cost of it not being in there, obviously, too. And I asked him, like, what he meant by cost.
That's what I'm referring to, I think. I think that's what he's referring to. There needs to be...
Something has to come out.
Yes.
But I don't know. And he asked me, like, what would come out? And I said, okay, like, I don't really know, like, what he means, like, exactly what needs to come out. But, like, can we get rid of, like, the view my team thing that we were all supposed to apparently tweet out about, even though it doesn't really show the correct stats and stuff? And, you know, because we can, like, flex our teams. Remember that whole thing? And he's like, no, not like that. And I was like, okay. And I was thinking, like, well, then what could come out of, like, HUT? And I was like, sorry to break it to my boy Maze Jolt out there, but HUT Rush, like, you know what I mean? Like, that would be like
thing. If HUT Rush does not get its love in terms of what I mean by stuff actually registers, and we can't play it co-op, just get rid of it. It is like,
I think it's unsalvageable at this point. It's been 4 years of garbage.
There is a way to make it fun, which is so frustrating to me. It is so frustrating to me. HUT Rush has potential, right? And they just it requires dev time.
How bad is it that I'd rather have a picture of like words and numbers than a mode like that? You know what I mean? It's just because I just feel like the leaderboard thing. I'm telling you right now, people don't maybe not see it that they just play the game for fun or whatever, but it really does drive people to play more, as dumb as that sounds, because people are like, well, why do you care? Because like Benny said earlier, people like to flex, but people also like to see feedback. Like, oh, okay, I played Brent. I played him on, August 17th at 3 a.m. I mean, dude, I remember he used to have like the exact time you'd play people and stuff, and but it's like, I
would love to go through a list and you click on that player and then it shows you all your recent games. Like that, I would love that stuff.
Dude, you used to be able to view people's lineups.
Even like, just online, offline separating stats. God, dude, if they could get rid of squad battles and online, like so that you could actually see, like
it skews your brain and like, oh, like wow, Jason Robertson, he has 90 goals and he only played 10 games. It's
dude,
like,
my favorite thing is when I say that a card is not good when I'm like reviewing them and cards that I've used, and someone's like, "What are you talking about? I have 7,000 goals in 45 squad battles games." I'm like. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like that's frustrating. So I agree with you. I think that it's funny because cards are no different. There's no custom strides and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. The leaderboard thing, not so much the leaderboard, but the data being readily available to you, I think is what is drastically missing and would add a lot more element. Dude, there's always a time where I'll go through a spreadsheet phase and I'm like, how many face-offs did I win with this guy? Like, what's his actual face-off percentage over the last, 150 games? What's his shooting percentage I'd love to know shooting percentage per card. If you could get that data on the card, man, it would just teach you a lot about how to make you better as a player. Like I said, the perfect example is puck possession.
I agree.
If you are always carrying the puck with if you can actually go and do this, guys, by the way, if you go to your stats, and even though it's skewed because it's squad battles and whatever, but if you mostly play online, go and look, and I bet that there's a big drastic difference in how many goals you score with right-handed wingers as you do with your lefties. And if you score a far more goals with your left-handed wingers than you do your righties, then maybe make it snappy on your lefties, and you don't need to have it on your righties, right? Like, that's information that would make it a lot more fun when it comes to team building, because you individually, the way that you play, right? We're not all trying to be GWC champions, right? So at a certain point, it's like, understanding how you play, which is half of what my job on my channel is to try and make you a better player, right? But you could do that, like, you're not going to be able to be an alien and read every play like regs. But if you could, you know that if having elite edges on a defenseman, because you always have the puck with defensemen, like, that would be like good knowledge, right? So I agree with you there. I'm going to go, there's a million things I could choose, and we could do 5 videos on this. And to be honest, we probably will. I want to be able to play, from my understanding, World of Chel is the most played mode in terms of, I think, the most active games, or maybe not the most active games, but the most amount of time spent in the mode. It is why World of Chel always gets the love. It does get more love than HUT, whether you want to admit it or not. Live content doesn't count. I'm talking about, like, year over year. Go look at the last 6 years of World of Chel and go look at the last 6 years of HUT. We got almost the exact same menu. Someone just turned the lights off. So, it's drastically different. You got like a storefront. You've got cyborgs running around, and it's not even close. That being said, I want to be able to play every single mode co-op. I want to be able to take 5 buddies and go and do a HUT Champs run with 6 dudes, and I want all of our stats to track and get objectives done with each of those players. So, if I want to do a Squad Baddies run, and I want to do a Coffee and Chel Squad Baddies run, the 3 of us bring a card in, or we use one team, and say it's mine, let's say it's Brent's, because clearly his team is the best. We load in, and we get the objectives done, as all of us do. So if we're trying to grind out HUT Rush, HUT Elites, or whatever the thing is, we can do squad battles with all of our buddies together. Or HUT Champs. Dude, a HUT Champs run or rivals with your buddies would be way more fun than what we're stuck with now. So I just think that we should be able to play every single mode in HUT co-op with your friends. And I think that it would spice up the game potentially more than any other way that I could think of it. And before you say that'd be cheesing the game, dude, Stewie, back when we were grinding the versus leaderboards, how much did your eyes light up when you saw that a dude was playing with his buddy?
You want to hear a funny story?
Easiest wins of your life.
Back in the day, there was a guy, his name was Shot. I can't remember his exact gamer tag. I used to play him all the time in Top Versus. And I ended up finding out years later, it was Alex Tuck and Thatcher Demko playing on the same account. They were top 50 in Versus. How weird is
hilarious.
That? Dude, wow. That's sick.
Wow. Isn't that funny? And I used to play him, and we would chirp each other back and forth. Like, because I'd always get your guest off your account, you puss. Like, because he would one of them would plant right in front of the net and sit there, and then the other one would kind of play defense and chase you. And if you knew what you were doing,
if you knew what you were doing, but man, the majority,
bro. Me and Brent got in a game, we could dominate people on the thing. Like, you just I sit in front, all right, cool. You know what I mean?
And let me be clear here. There would obviously be things that would, because what would happen is you would get Prodigy, or you would get the Caps Gaming team, and they would Caps Gaming would literally, which is basically the 6 of the top 15 players in the world, right? And they would get on team and they'd be unbeatable. However, if you could only search, but what you could do is when you're searching and you're single, you could choose only search single or search any. Right. And maybe
a thing. I remember, I think a few years ago that was a thing back in NHL 17 and 18.
God, I think it just would spice it up, because there's so many people that play World of Chel, and if you think of many more people that don't play HUT that play World of Chel, it just seems like it would fix the player base
incentive
issue. But your objectives have to track. There has to be an incentive for all of your buddies outside of just having fun. When you're grinding the chores of HUT, right? That it counts for everyone. And if they do that, man, I think that it freshens
Well,
up the game.
And even more active if you separate it like MLB, where it's like you have a co-op objectives,
Yep.
you have your single objectives, you
Dude.
have your co-op rank seasons grind. You'll find this out, Brent. It's pretty cool. Me and you could grind our co-op rank seasons together and make World Series, but we could also do it by ourselves. I mean, there's so much like to do on there where it's like that's what NHL kind of needs is like what he's saying. I agree. I think it would just drive more people to play.
I never
too.
used to think about it until I'll pull back the curtain a little bit here. Hut Rush has been a pretty hot topic over the last 2 years in the Game Changer chat. Not so much just like issues with it, but like even when they talk to us about like in 2 years from now, what should be in the game, and it's like I used to be like Hut Rush is pointless. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, this is so dumb. Like no one's gonna play the mode or whatever. And over the years, I get frustrated because like it could be such a good mode if it's just utilized in the correct way, and they don't want to put the resources into making that fix. And what I meant was like there should be a shootout mode, or everyone should have truculence. It should be dumb, stupid 3v3 arcade hockey, and it's not. It's like let's just play on the little threes arcade rink, but we're using like silver cards, and you've got to hit a Michigan, but there's no room behind the net, and then when you do hit a Michigan, it doesn't track. Score a wrist shot, and it's
rewards.
like wrist shots don't work. It's like it's mind numbing. But anyway, so Brett, what was yours?
Like it's honestly just going back to just the in general ultimate team of just team building is like the most important part of the mode.
You mean like
besides
collection?
gameplay? No, in terms of like you're actually building your team.
Okay.
So like my whole thing is I would want them to take away synergies and go back to chemistry.
Oh,
and so
okay.
No. And
Talk
okay,
me into
this is
this
what I'm
one.
saying here. So basically, this is like going off with like your thing before you're saying with builds. So that instead of having synergies, like say like your top line has like the power forward, playmaker, sniper, like together, it gives them all like a +1. And then if like say your entire lineup is optimized, everyone gets a +2. So basically, and like go with more of like the player builds, like so that there's like a sick was like, oh, this is a really good power forward that could play with like my playmaker, my sniper, my top line, and they all get their boost. So like
I actually think that like that'd be that, like the builds, like I the chemistry thing. What's so funny is that last year MLB's like gimmicky thing was captains, because Derek Jeter was baseball doesn't really have captains, but there's been a few times where like guys have had like the C in the locker room, but they don't get the C on the jersey or anything like that. Like Veritek actually, I'm pretty sure wore the C.
He did.
It's very rare, right? But because Derek Jeter, who was a legend that they could not get in game, finally came into the game, it was a huge thing. But they gave out captain boosts, so these cards weren't overly great, but they would give boosts based on 3 tiers. So it's like if the Boston Red Sox captain card, right? He would be like, if let's say it was Rafael Devers. If you had 4 Boston Red Sox players in your lineup, you would get +5 to power versus lefties and righties. If you got 10 Red Sox players in your lineup, you got 10. Then if you had your entire lineup was Red Sox players, you would get +15 power and lefty and clutch and all this stuff, which was pretty advantageous. So there were some pretty interesting builds. This should be in hockey. Like hockey, like your captain matters. So like let's say you have a Brady Tkachuk captain card, and it's like if you get Ottawa Senators, alumni or current, power forwards, and you can maybe even extrapolate and say Americans, but maybe not go that far. Let's just say Ottawa Senators and alumni and power forwards. And if you got X amount in there, it's like if you get 5 Ottawa Senators or alumni or power forwards in your lineup, they get +5 the body checking and strength and in like something along those lines. And then let's say for Connor McDavid, his captain card is not his base card. Like captain cards would be special. His captain card, it's like, you get 5 Edmonton Oilers, or the problem is he a playmaker? I hate the builds.
I like your idea, Brent, too, with the chemistry, like what he's saying. I really wish, because when we talked to Seabass, fan of the show, a few weeks ago, he kind of made a good point. He was like, they need to find more ways to drive people
to using your favorite teams.
Want to watch real hockey too.
Yes.
And then also tying real hockey into this game. And one of the ways, like, we're just using this as an example, right? So, like, I've always used the example, like the Sedins, right? You put Burrows with them. they're nasty or something, right? Or like let's say Matthew Tkachuk, he used to play on Calgary's line with Lindholm and Gaudreau. Or let's say like use their nationalities, use their former teams, former
Like
back
you
in
could
the
come
day,
out national teams like
yeah.
during December. You could come out with like
Russia
yes.
or like like Czech Republic or whoever what team it is. So it's like I really wish like because that's like little intricacies that would be cool ways to dip okay, tie this to this and this and that. But I know that's a lot of work.
What would
I'm sure.
happen in Brent's example is that what would happen, Brent, I could already tell you, is that like everyone would have the same 7 cards in their lineup. Like you need to make it where there's enough differences and enough choices. Something that NHL suffers with is exactly what Seabass was talking about, where you should want to play the game, or the game should make you want to watch the real thing. And that doesn't happen in hockey, in my opinion. Like
the only time we do is fantasy event and the fantasy upgrade cards.
Yeah, that like how exciting are the fantasy cards? Like that is proof. You go, dude, the amount of Nashville Predator fans last year, they went awfully silent once Duchesne hit 99. But there was games where you'd be watching them, like if you had time, right? Perfect example for me. I have been a Red Sox fan since I was 9 years old because I love Nomar. And it just so happened that like I remember where I was in 2004, and it was like I remember watching it, but it didn't impact me a ton because I was young and I was just a casual fan. And I've watched all the Red Sox playoff runs, and I would usually watch about maybe 10 games throughout the regular season. Last year, I watched probably 100 games in their totality, simply because the game made me obsessed with them again. Because they allowed me to have 99 Red Sox players of current players in the lineup, and I got to play the game and be somewhat competitive and not really lose a lot of my ability because my team was so shit. And then I would go and watch them. Like, dude, Jarren Duran was like my favorite player to watch last year, and I loved having his card. No one had his card in the game, but I could because he was half decent. If I want to make a Sharks team right now, I'm using 82 Mario Ferrara. And I understand the Sharks are awful. They shouldn't receive cards based on the current content structure. It's just literally impossible. So if you are a fan of a team that is not good, you will never be able to do a theme team. You just won't. Like it sucks. So, I hope they need to figure out something like that. But good idea, fellas, and a good talk. We kind of all over the place today, but this was a longer one.
For people out there too, like going into like the dead times of the game, like do you guys want us to
Yeah, we need to figure out what we're gonna do as well.
We're gonna still go over HUT, obviously, to something gets like released, like they do team builders and stuff, because I know Sleazy's got to keep up with it, and obviously because it's his job and stuff, and he's
not to mention the viewers love HUT.
Yeah, no, I know, but I just mean like you're gonna still be deeply into it because you have to be.
I have to be, yeah.
And but would it make people mad if we talk about MLB? What is it gonna? If you guys like hate it, we're not gonna keep doing it. So, because that's obviously gonna be a game that me and Sleeves I know are gonna be seriously playing. And if Brent keeps with it, then he might enjoy it like me. You know what I mean?
I think we have to do it in the caveat if we are gonna cover MLB. I think we have to do it in the caveat of like, would this idea work in NHL, and how would it work in NHL? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
I think that we need to discuss real hockey as it goes along, because the game, it's just again, it's not just the game is over because the GWC is over. It's literally a 6-month cycle in sports games. MLB,
right?
Yeah, Madden goes through it, NBA goes through it.
Look at the market.
Yeah, exactly.
And like but and then like I told Sleeves, and in the summertime we'll try to get some guests. Obviously it's a little easier during the non NHL season to get some of these guys to come on, and we had like Tom on last year, and Merrick and those kind of people. Like I know some people really enjoy that stuff too. So we'll try to just try to evolve with everything. We'll do some fun stuff hopefully, and we'll figure it out. But if you guys have any ideas, I guess put them down in the comments.
Yeah, let us know, man. Let us know.
If you want to get rid of me off the podcast, put that down there. If you want me to shut up, just put it down there.
I didn't want to.
They didn't like lawn talk too much.
I'm just joking right now.
All right, fellas. Well, that'll do it for episode 95. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.